Alright, welcome back to Yama River. This is M-Dog. I'm sort of recording this fish fight. Let's see where this heads. It's too early for me to tell what we've really gotten into here. Again, I'm using pretty small leaders, I think, compared to most. I've got 19 kilo on right now. And the king salmon just gets so large here that... this early in the fight, it's just impossible for me to tell. I'd say that's most likely what it is. Occasionally people have been hooking into Kalugas on spoons, especially the Satori. I've got the Hunter 2 on right now, but I think that that's just a very small chance. And I also think if this were a Kaluga, it would be a lot slower than this, and this would be a tiny Kaluga, obviously. So I think this is going to be another king salmon. We had one that was 27 kilos earlier on this very setup. I mean, different lure. I don't even... sorry. Nope. Forget everything I just said. No, that's correct. I don't remember if it was this lure. I think it was this setup. It was either this setup or very similar in terms of leader size. Sorry, I've been doing spin fishing and using casting setups today, so I've gotten a little confused. But either way, I've been sticking to around this leader size. 19 to 23 range. And that fight was like a, I don't know, 15-minute fight or so, maybe a little more than that. It was on stream earlier. It ended up being 27 kilos. My initial thought was that this probably wasn't that big, but here we are. We're still having adventures with him. Thankfully, I got downstream from him pretty quick, so the current is now working against him. I think I said that correctly. Am I downstream from him? Yes. So yeah, at this point we just hang out. I don't need to let that happen for that long. A lot of swimming back and forth, a lot of head shaking. That is also what happened on the king salmon earlier. In terms of where we are on the map, I mean, I'll show you, but we're just like just to the right of camp in what's a very one of the spots that I've personally fished probably the most here at Yama, and I think it's pretty well known as far as spots here. But I will show it to you, kind of where I was casting from and the different approaches I've had here. I did do this fishing with one rod. I've mentioned that I have been experimenting some with fishing with 2 spinning rods at the same time, going back and forth, jigging a little bit. And I do want to, at some point, probably record a video of what that looks like and all that. But in terms of trying to get a really nice high quality fish, sometimes I think it's a better strategy. To me, the double rod thing is more just like for volume fishing. You end up with, of course, a lot of fish because you got 2 rods in, and they do bite pretty quickly on the spoons right now. But a lot of small stuff. Not everything is small, but a lot of it is. If you really want to get a nice one, sometimes it's best just to like pick your spot, figure out the real speed you want to go, and then just kind of stay with it and really lure that fish in. So, I mean, it's all RNG to a degree, but that's what I was doing here. I was just fishing with one rod, hitting a spot, bringing it in at a certain reel speed. At the time, I think I was using 35 on the reel speed, getting some jig steps here and there, but also just trying to be consistent. And sure enough, we hooked into something pretty nice. And we'll see what it is. You're always hoping it, you know, initially when it's a runner, I guess the hope in some ways is it's not a king salmon, because if it's another species, then there's a pretty good chance you've got a really nice fish on. If it is a king salmon, then it may be a fairly large fish, but they get so big, chances are this is not one of those really, really giant salmon. We're in a really safe place right now, though. If you look at the map, I mean, we're just able to kind of hang out here, kind of keep the fish to our left, and all we've got is time to wear this fish out. He's doing a lot of work up there in the current, trying to stay away from us. We're keeping a little bit of tension on the bar, on the rod, and on our tension bar. And as long as we don't let too much slack happen, or we don't get a random, like, fish got away, then you got to feel pretty good about just time is on our side. But I really may start, as good as the fishing is getting at Yama, I mean, the more I fish here, the more comfortable I get, starting to see some of the things that are consistently working. I may start increasing leader size a little bit. I mean, I've got the gear to at least go a little stronger than what I have. It doesn't, from what I've seen from other people fishing and a little bit of testing I've done, it doesn't seem like larger leaders are decreasing your bite rate by any significant margin, at least. So these fights are really fun though, but I guess, you know, if it ends up being, let's say, like a 17 king salmon, right, that's probably not worth the time and damage that we do by using an undersized leader, I suppose. Everything else, of course, that you're catching on these lures, that's probably about the size you'd want to use, with this being the exception. But I'm glad they're here. It definitely spices it up, makes it fun. And you just kind of never know when it's going to happen. Or you can use ultralight here, and then every fish that's a decent fish kind of feels like this, which is also fun. A lot of fun to be had here at the moment. And we have been fishing at Yama. I mean, it's been hours and hours now. So it's not like the bite rate's slowing down or drying up. I mean, it's been at least for me, it's been a long, healthy day of fishing here. Yesterday, day one, when Yama had been out for hours, you know, at that point, I didn't get in at the very beginning, but when I did start fishing, initially it was pretty good, and then I had to do some stuff and came back a few hours later, and that's when I started the stream yesterday, and it was a lot slower for me. Today, I think combination of fishing's just been a little better, and then also I've gotten more comfortable. Just starting to figure out some different things that are working, and during the stream we tried a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm not paying attention here. He's actually sneaking past us. A very sneaky king over there. We certainly do not want to allow him to start using the current against us. I really directionally did get a little turned around there. I thought we were kind of looking diagonally at him, but at that point he was pretty much straight across from us. And the current's constantly pulling him down, so he's wanting to go that way, but if we're at enough of an angle here, he will naturally fight against us as well. Okay, that was a little scary. That's also a little scary. Let's calm down. All right. I know some folks have been really not using leaders at all here. And I've experimented a little bit. It still seems like, for me at least, having a leader on helps, is productive, is positive, but I haven't tried it without one enough to maybe have confidence about that. But I think some folks have just used straight monoline without a leader, maybe even braid without a leader. For me, though, it still seems like having a leader on has been worth it. Yeah, I have no idea what size this fish is. You know, the 27 we caught earlier, it definitely took us for a ride. In fact, we ended up having to, it went so far kind of upstream that we got down to like less than half the spool, maybe down to about a quarter. So I actually had to kind of walk upstream back towards it some just to stay in a safe place with the spool. But I don't know, this is taking what feels like just as long. He's still got a lot of fight in him, so it was cool to see with the previous fish, and maybe we'll see it here too. It did just get more and more tired. Kind of eventually got to a point where basically stopped running. Or it was still running some, but overall we were gaining more line than we were losing. Kind of like this right here. That might be what's starting here. It pulls line and then it gives us some back. That might be what we're starting to see now. So it might be, again, about the same amount of time, starting to get worn out, hopefully. Let's see, we've been recording 11, almost 12 minutes. I couldn't have been fighting it more than 2 or 3 minutes before that. Maybe 4 or 5, but not long, so. This might be real close to the size of the last one. Who knows? Badfish just had a nice catfish. Badfish catching big fish tonight. Beluga, catfish. Good job, Badfish. So last one was 27. This one should be at least 20. I mean, I'd be surprised if it was too much less than 20 unless, you know, these fish just fight really different from each other. So now we got to watch it because it's tired. It's not fighting a lot right at the moment. It's kind of coming in towards us, but it's also going to be coming downstream as it comes in. He's pulling back a little bit. So we just don't want it to get past us where we're having to pull it back upstream, especially if it has a little bit of fight left in it. It's just unnecessary. So we'll try to pull him right to us. And let's see what this is. See how big it is. I think we know what it is, but let's see how big it is. And this is one of the exciting parts about fishing in this spot that I will show you again once we have this fish in. It is true that you catch a lot of chums, which is kind of the case in many spots here. Not all spots, but many spots at Yama. But I feel like this one in particular, you're going to hit a lot of chums. But it's one of the places that you can hook into the king salmons with some regularity. All right, let's just make sure this is really tired because he is kind of going to drift past us here. There he is. He is not that big, folks. Much smaller. 46K. Much smaller, but such a fun fish. And this just shows you these things just fight. Somebody was saying this earlier. In fact, when we brought in that 27 kilo, it didn't fight that different than this one, you know. And other folks were saying that too. Like, I just caught a 16 kilo that was just like that. It's interesting. They just fight really strong, but at least at the sizes that I've seen, they do wear out. It doesn't take that long. Where's the last one? Yeah, here's the last one. And that was on the Satori. I couldn't remember which lure we had on at the time. Different coloration, also different size. Very nice. All right, let's look at this spot. We probably have a fish or two on. Still using bait fish in different spots as well. There's other stuff you can do on feeders, but I've still got a few bait fish left, so I've pretty much just had those in. So we have been just standing right up here, casting from here. This is the place on the map. It's really about F3. Somewhere around 165, 214 is usually the place that I'm standing when fishing from here. A lot of chums in this area. No doubt about it. But every once in a while you hit something decent on the bait fish. I mean, just depends on how much effort you want to go to in catching the bait fish, on whether or not it's worth it. You know, you saw those two fish. I mean, basically two useless fish that we caught on bait fish. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, in that last video, we caught that chum salmon. Since moving up here, which would have been probably at this point here, it was overnight, we moved here. We've just mostly been catching these fish spin fishing. Pink salmon, Dolly Varden, cohos are here. But then the king salmon are here as well. And again, basically what I do, there's two places. Sometimes I cast straight across, almost north, just east of north, like right there. Sometimes I cast a little farther east. So sometimes we're kind of at the 1 meter between the holes here. Sometimes we are casting into the sort of westernmost part of this 3.5 meter hole. But we hooked up on that one just doing this. Casting right over there. Getting the slack out of the line. And then just starting a very slow, monotonous, consistent jig step. So many times you're going to hit this fish on a drop. If you can get jig step going, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. Just put those pauses in there. And a lot of times you hit something just like that. Hunter 2, any of the hunters, any of the Satoris, Vicos, try other things as well. Don't get stuck on the leaderboard. The community has gotten. I love catching these Linux. I don't see them a lot. In fact, that spot down here, I saw them more often, but they are popping down here every once in a while. You've seen a ton of people using the Satoris, right? I think this one has the 1.0 hook. And they are really good. I'm not saying don't use them. Do use the Satoris. They're working really well. The 03, the 06, the 09, the 01, all of these really good. But just don't get stuck on it. There's other really good lures to use here as well. I have been focusing more on spoons, but a lot of folks are doing well on wobblers and poppers and other stuff as well. So just so much you can do here. That'd be great if we couldn't catch a fish on the Satori after just about not being able to miss using that hunter. I'm just not going to even move until the jig step goes away. Once it fades, then we'll get more lined up here. Get it going this way a bit. You can still get the fish to hook up on this side as well, but I see a lot of the fish I catch is going to be in the first third of the retrieval. Not that you can't get one at the end, you certainly can. But the percentages for me, a high percentage of the fish I catch, it's pretty early in the retrieval process. And I'm using 35 right now, but go a lot slower at times too. Move your retrieval speed around some. So much is working here that you just don't want to get locked into one thing in case that one thing slows down a little bit, you still want to be trying other things. There's so much still that we have to learn about Yama, obviously, and potentially adding fly fishing to it one day. There's a lot to take in, a lot to learn, and the community will continue to just learn more and more about it. Day 2 for me, which I'm coming to the end of, I think I'm about done for the day, has been great. I've really enjoyed it. Planning on streaming again tomorrow. If you're going to be around, would love to see you. Probably get another day or two of some amount of streaming in, and then I'll be back to work for a couple days as well. So, but this has been a fun intro to Yama these last couple days, and we've got a couple more days to enjoy it as well. Tight lines, everybody. Hope you're having as good a time here as I am. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks again.